Welcome back to another episode of the Canon. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a quick review of Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2, the CW crossover. If you haven't listened to my first review from the first episode, go to the link in the description. They'll be there. But I was not a huge fan, to say the least. And the more I thought about it, the more I was just like, I didn't get mad about it. It wasn't like egregious. It was just real meh. This episode, I guess I liked a little better, but man, I'm really close to tapping out. Number one, I can't watch them live like I thought I was going to be able to do, which kind of sucks. But I guess that doesn't really stop me from watching it the next day. But on top of that, this crossover is just so underwhelming compared to what I was expecting. And not just because of all of the references and fan service. I was expecting, like I was expecting last year, for them to grow in their ability to do these crossovers. I've mentioned many times before, and I'll continue to mention, Crisis on Earth X was amazing. One of the most amazing things I've seen, period, not just TV show. And the fact that they have devolved from that and went backwards is sad because, you know, it used to be real small. Arrow would show up on an episode of The Flash and vice versa. It was okay, cool. And it made sense. Then they started doing the bigger crossovers and they didn't quite do it well. I think each individual episode was okay, but it was too much like, this is your episode, this is your episode. And then Crisis on Earth X came, and they made one fluid story, and I thought that's where we were going to stay. But since then, it's devolved back into what it was. So this episode was more fluid. It didn't feel like this is a Batwoman episode. They definitely brought in Batman and the references, because of it was Batwoman's episode. That's just good placement. But it felt like a Crisis on Infinite Earth story. But there's a lot going on. And I just come to the conclusion it's very convoluted. And this is one of the reasons I never wanted to get this big, because it's just too many questions you got to ask. And I know it's comic books and fantasy, and people will say comics are always convoluted. That doesn't give you the license to make a stupid story. You still got to make it at least workable, believable, and it just is, and they just contradict their own rules too much. And so I'm just sitting here thinking, like, all the stuff, because the multiverse came from Flash, I'm thinking like all the stuff we seen, everybody's doppelgangers, this and this. And now all of a sudden Clark Kent is just different people on different Earths. And I'm just like, what? It doesn't make any sense. But they wasted Tom Welling, like, brought back the Smallville. It looked good, but what they actually brought him back to do was so dumb. I don't think he's going to be in the rest of the crossover. And so that felt just like forced fan service, much like some of the Easter eggs I mentioned from episode 1 with the, Robin and all that, and the dude from the other original Batman, or from like Tim Burton Batmans. Like, all that stuff, it just forced in. It has nothing to do with the story. And this didn't drive anything forward with the story. And so it was just like, he was in there to be in there. And we know, I believe it's Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in Smallville, declined to be in this because he was saying they basically didn't have a story, or they didn't really know what they wanted him to do. And you could tell, it seemed like they didn't have much of an idea what to do. And so it was just there. Now, the Batman part was part of the story, but it was terrible. And I give full credit. This is something I was talking about with Superman, but I never use this term. I get it from John Campea, who I watch, from the Campea show. And he uses, well, it's not his term, but it's from Wrestling Jobber. And he was like, they job, for Supergirl. They make Superman look weaker so Supergirl looks better. And then they did the same thing with Batman. It was so disrespectful. I had to be done. Like, Kevin Conroy's voice, it ain't what it used to be. Let's just say that. So that's one thing. But I could get over that. But what they chose to do with his character, and it was so obvious. It wasn't even like, oh, what a great twist. As soon as he said, the only description we have is the bat of the future. I'm like, you're talking about her. We get it. It ain't no coincidence that, Kara's one. Oh, Ruby's one. Oh, Sarah's one. Of course, they're all here. And it was dumb that he knew it was her and made this man build a machine, made them go to Earth 99, all that. And he could have just told him that. And so, I don't know, it's so much stupid stuff in this crossover right now. And it just, a lot of it's annoying. And none of it feels satisfying. I did feel satisfaction a little bit seeing Smallville. I definitely feel satisfaction seeing Brandon Routh as a Superman. But it just, it's so disappointing, man. To be honest, it's disappointing. And then the whole Oliver thing. I'm glad they didn't leave the death there. And that's why I was saying to people, I'm like, if his actual death was in episode 1, that's super disappointing. The only reason I'm okay with the whole Lazarus Pit crap again is that it gives us a chance to do a better death for Oliver. And so we'll see where that goes. But I love Constantine though. That guy, every time I see him in anything, it's Constantine. I really like him. So I enjoyed that part. And so, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of tired. I kind of don't want to watch the rest, but I'm going to watch the next one and we'll see if it gets a little better. I think I gave the last one a 70 something. This one's probably a 78. Still a C plus, not a B for me. So that's how I feel. So anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you thought about Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 2. Share it around, get the conversation started. Thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.